Yo, welcome to the n8n breakdown video. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you all about n8n, how it works, what you can build with it, all the basics. This is going to be more than enough and very detailed for you to understand how we build AI workflows and agents. So make sure you focus. And by the way, I'm going to be also showing you how we can build a very basic AI workflow on this video. So this way, anytime you watch any n8n video, whether it's mine or somebody else's, you can easily implement the AI workflow or agent that they're showing you. So this video is going to be a very big and important step for you in your AI learning journey. Without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to show you around on the n8n website. If you go to pricing, you will directly see cloud and self-hosted. So n8n is like make.com, similar to Zapier, similar to Relevance. So these are platforms that help you automate workflows. n8n, among all the platforms that I mentioned, is such a cool and beautiful platform to build AI on. It's very flexible, very easy to use, and it's very native to how we use tools. So it's just easy in some sense. So this is n8n. You build on it AI workflows and agents. I'm going to show you in a bit. So there are two ways to use n8n. You can either build on an n8n account on the cloud, on n8n's cloud, and this is the best option for beginners. Or if you're more seasoned and advanced as an AI expert, I definitely suggest you self-host n8n. The difference between the two, once you're a beginner, you're not going to need so many executions, and this way there is no need to worry about the headache related to self-hosting and the domain and stuff like that. Just use the cloud and pay the $20 or $50, and that would be it. But once you need more executions and you become more advanced and building more agents and workflows, you definitely are going to need to self-host if you want to spend less money and have more control. So in my case, I definitely self-host. I have all my n8n accounts self-hosted because I build a lot of agents and I need a lot of executions, and this is the best, most optimal way for me to do it. This is the difference between the two. If you're starting out, just use the cloud, start with the starter pack, and by the way, if you're signing up for the first time, they give you a 14-day free trial. So you get to use, I think, 10,000 executions for free so that you learn n8n, and this is just like a good offer for them to give you. So this is going to be more than enough for you to learn during the 14 days, and then you can decide if you want to use the cloud or self-host or what you want to do. So that's it. And the way you sign up, you just click on Get Started. You have to fill the full name, company email, confirm email address, password, and account name. When you fill the account name, make sure you remember this account name because this is how you're going to sign in into n8n later on. So write something that you can remember, something that's relevant in some way. And you just click on start 14-day free trial, and that would be it. You officially have an n8n account on the cloud. Now, before we go into n8n and start building and showing you around, I need to show you one more thing. If we go to product and click on templates, you will find more than 5,610 workflow automation templates. These are workflows or agents that other people have built, and these templates are on the n8n website, which means they're actually working and that you can use. All you need to do is copy or download the JSON format. If you don't know what JSON is, I do have other videos and I will be talking about JSON in this video. Anyway, you download the JSON file, and then you can literally just copy paste it into your n8n, and voila, you literally have a workflow, AI workflow created from scratch with a click of a button. It's that easy. So any workflow you need, let it be marketing, for example. You do have marketing templates, you do have sales templates, and you just like read the description, copy paste it, and throw it into your n8n uh, workflow, and there you go. So we're not going to be using these now. They are useful, they can be effective in some cases, but if you're still a beginner and still learning AI for the first time, or you're still not so experienced, I definitely do not recommend you using templates because you need to learn the basics first. You need to understand how things work, how the nodes are connected to each other, and how data flows from one node to another. Then you can consider using templates. But for now, just build it yourself and learn from scratch so that you can actually use templates in the most optimal manner. Without further ado, let's go straight into n8n. See you there. So, as you see on the screen, this is n8n. Now, once you create a new account, this is not what you're going to see. you're not going to see all these agents and workflows. What you're going to see is, as I remember, it's going to be start using a template or start from scratch. This is what you're going to see over here. You're not going to see any of this. These are some of the agents and automations that I built on this specific n8n account. So some are active, some are inactive. I'm not going to go into them. They're a bit more advanced for you right now. So you just need to understand that this is not what you're going to see when you access your first 14-day free trial account. If you look over here, you have a dashboard. Now this dashboard has overview and personal. These are just like, you can call them folders for agents. The overview is where you see everything. It's like your home page. The personal is just the executions that you have that are owned by you. This is the templates button. This will take you straight to the templates we just talked about. Here is the settings. Here is where you can like check your usage and plan, n8n API, and a lot of other stuff. And if you have a cloud-based n8n account, you're gonna have admin console over here. That's where I remember it to be. So the admin console will allow you to check your executions, how many executions you have left, the plan that you have, and some account settings that you might need to look at. Moving on to creating a workflow, because this is basically the home page. All you need to do is hover over to create workflow and you click on it. There you go. And with a click of a button, we created our first canvas. This is where we build our AI workflows from scratch. Now let me show you around. So you have the same side panel that I just showed you. So let me close this. Over here is, so what folder this workflow is in. Right beside it would be the title. I would suggest you title every single workflow in a unique way so that you can know which workflow is which. So let's name this demo 1 YouTube. Beside it you have add tag. So let's say this workflow is marketing related or customer support or sales. So I can add a tag which is marketing, and this is how I can know which is which. Then you have the inactive and active button. This is the button that either makes the workflow active or inactive, which kind of means like online or offline, similar like to building websites. Once you publish a website, the customer can see it or it can interact with the internet. You then have the share button if you want to share the workflow or if you want to build with someone else and collaborate. You have the save. Let's say for the sake of the example, I'm going to add a trigger. Every time you make an edit, you have to press save so that it actually goes online. Then you have workflow history so that you can go back to the previous versions of the workflow that you're building. Then you have the three dots. You can duplicate this workflow. You can download it as JSON. If you haven't watched my previous videos about JSON, make sure you do. You can rename it. You can even import from URL or import from files. So the templates that you saw, the 5,000 plus templates, you download them as JSON and you can import them as JSON, which means you literally copy paste all of the workflow inside this canvas. Now you have the plus button. This is where you can add any node you have. It might be a trigger node, an app node, an LLM node, database node, any kind of node. You have a sticky note. This is just like a way to organize your workflow. That's how I use it. And you have these buttons over here like zoom in, zoom out and stuff like that. And for you to zoom in and out, on my Windows laptop, I'm going to press Control. On Apple, it's going to be Command, I think. So you just scroll up and down, like control and scroll up and down. One final thing, this is the editor section. This is where you can build and edit stuff. We also have the execution sections. Every time the workflow is executed, it's going to show a record over here. I'm going to show it to you later on, but for now, we care about the editor. So what we are going to build is going to be an email workflow. What happens is every time I receive a customer complaint through email, I want AI to generate a reply to that email based on a certain guide that I'm going to give this AI LLM node. And then I want to send that custom generated reply, email reply, to the same person that sent the complaint in the first place. How do I do that? Let me show you. So the first thing we need with any workflow we're building is a trigger node. A trigger node is the first node that is going to start or execute the workflow. The workflow is not going to be executed on its own. There has to be an event or an action that happens that allows the workflow to be executed. In our case, we're going to be using a Gmail trigger. But before we do that, let me show you what kinds of trigger we have. So if you press on Add First Step, you click on the plus sign, it takes you to what triggers this workflow. It asks you what triggers this workflow. So it's asking you what kind of trigger do you want to add for the trigger to execute this workflow. You can have trigger manually, If I click on it, this is literally every time I press execute workflow manually, it's going to execute the workflow. This is used in testing. You also have on app event, like let's say receiving a Gmail. You're going to have a Gmail trigger on message received. You can have a ClickUp integration on folder created, on task created. So these are apps that n8n has built a trigger for. There are 500 plus apps if I'm not mistaken. You have on a schedule, you can have the trigger based on every single day at 8 p.m. You have on webhook call, and again, if you haven't watched my webhook video, please go and watch it so that you can understand what this means. On webhook call, you can have it, for example, receiving data from a certain platform or website. This way, it can trigger every time it receives new data from that website. On form submission, every time someone submits a form, it can trigger the workflow. When executed by another workflow, this can be a trigger, and on chat message, every time you send a message to the agent, for example, it will trigger the workflow. For now, because we're building an email customer support workflow, I'm going to be using the Gmail trigger. So all I have to do is, let me just exit this so that you can see it. I can either click on this plus sign or this plus sign and search for Gmail. Since my email is on Gmail, I'm going to search for Gmail. If it's on Microsoft, you're going to have to search for Microsoft if it's available in the first place. Yep, it is Microsoft Outlook. So Gmail, I click on Gmail. We have one trigger for Gmail and it's on message received. So every time I receive an email or a message, this is going to trigger this workflow. I click on it and it takes me right into the configuration of this node. Let me exit first. So I added the Gmail trigger. This is the first step of the workflow, and this is what's going to trigger the workflow and execute it. So if I double click on this, it takes me into the configuration panel. This is called the configuration panel. This is where you configure the node, where you can connect the node to your Gmail account and add the details that you want to add. So in our case, I already have my account connected. I will show you how you can connect accounts and connect apps moving forward, but for now, let's keep it simple. I have my n8n Gmail connected. I have the mode set for every minute, and the trigger event is message received. So the thing that's going to trigger this workflow is me receiving a message on my email. Very simple, very basic, nothing too complicated. That's the first node. So it's connected to my email, and every time I'm going to receive a new email, it will execute the workflow. For the sake of the example, I'm going to use my own email, like both of my emails. So I'm going to send from one email to another. One is going to be the customer support email for the company that we are creating a workflow for, and the other is going to be the customer that's complaining. So let's say we received the email. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to test it. So I'm going to click on it and click on fetch test event. But as you can see on the screen, it sends no Gmail data found. This means that I haven't received a new email yet. What I need to do is I need to send an email so that this can actually read it. So I'm going to send an email to sinan@remotelyx.com. The subject is going to be complaint. I hate this. All right, so and I click send. So I just sent the email to my other email. The other email is the email that's connected to the Gmail trigger. So if I go back into n8n, give it like a few seconds. So now if I click on fetch test event after sending the email is going to show up on this side. So since you just saw the output, how it looks like, I'm going to have to explain it for you. So this is the configuration panel. You can move it left to right and right to left. You can also expand it. In n8n, on the left side of the node, you're going to have the inputs. In this case, it's a trigger node. There's no inputs. The inputs are not going to be shown over here, at least. On the right side of every single n8n node, you're going to find the output. So every node is going to have output. The output is going to show over here. In this case, the output is showing a lot of data related to the email that you just received. All this data might not be visible on your Gmail app, but n8n can actually receive them. And this is very important because we're going to have to use a lot of them. And you're going to see in this example. So we have the ID. By the way, we have multiple data types. You have AB, which is plain text. You have this, which is array. You have this, which is a number. And you have this, which is an object. Again, if you haven't watched my JSON video, I advise you to do that so that you can understand what this means. So we have the ID, we have a lot of details, we also have the email itself, which is over here, text. I hate this. This is the email I sent. The subject, complaint, date, to, from, all of these details. So this is the Gmail trigger node. Let me exit this. As you can see, there's a check sign. It means that the node was executed successfully and there were no issues. And as you can see, on this line over here, we can see one item. This means that this node outputted one item, which is the data related to the email itself. Now, we received the email. What should we do next? As we mentioned, we want to create a response to this email based on a guide. For us to do that, we have to add an LLM node, a brain, to this workflow. We click on plus, you search for OpenAI or any other type of model that you're going to use, OpenAI, and you can see like we have multiple actions. Since we want to create a text or an email, like we want to formulate an email, we have to choose message a model. This means the model is going to receive a text and it will help us generate a response or a reply to the email. So we click on message a model, it takes us straight into the configuration panel as usual. Let me exit this and show it to you. So any type of node, you can click on it and drag it to move it. So this is the trigger node. This is the message a model node, which is the LLM. If I double click on it, I go into the configurations panel. On the screen, you have no input connected. This node can only receive input data if you connect it to another node. So there's nothing coming into this node and nothing coming out of it because there's no input and nothing is happening. So before I configure this node, let me show you how you can connect the previous one to it. All I have to do is click on plus, move this, and as soon as it's close to the second node, it's gonna magically click. It's like a magnet. So you just connect it this way. Once I click on the node, which is after the trigger, look what's gonna happen. I'm gonna have the input side of this node filled with the input that's coming out of the previous one. And by the way, you can access nodes in multiple ways. One way is exit the first, enter the second, or without exiting, I can hover over to here. I'll be able to click on this and go right into the next node. So if I click, I'm in the next node. So before I explain the data and the different types of how you can look at data like schema, table, JSON and stuff like that, let's just configure this node. As always, at the top of nodes, you have how you're going to connect them. So credential to connect with, OpenAI account. I'm not going to show you how I do that. It's a bit more advanced for now. Just consider that it's connected. We have the resource, which is text. It can be an image. In this case, it's a text coming into the model and we want to formulate a reply based on the text. So it's going to be text. Operation is going to be message a model. So we want to talk to this LLM. The model is going to be, in my case, I'm going to choose GPT 4.1. It's the cheapest and the best model. GPT 5 is out. I haven't updated my self-hosted n8n account, so I don't have access to it right now, but you can use GPT 5, or at least the cheaper model of GPT 5. So in this case, 4.1. So now we chose the model. We have the operation message a model. Resource is text, and the OpenAI account is connected. If you have watched my previous videos, you know that we have user prompts and system prompts. User prompt is the user message. For example, in this case, it's going to be the email. It's the user message that's going to be going into the AI model. The system prompt, on the other hand, is the set of instructions that we give the LLM for it to do what we want it to do in a specific way. This is what a system prompt is. This is what a user prompt is. But on the screen, we only have user. Like we have messages and we have user and we have prompt. And we can fill this with text. But where is the system prompt? For us to create a system prompt, all we have to do is go to add message, select the role we want to have, which is the system. So we change from user to system. So what is a user message? A user message, send a message as a user and get a response from the model. A system, usually used to set the model's behavior or context for the next user message. So the system prompt is a set of instructions. User prompt is the user message that we're gonna send into the model. Now in this case, the user message is gonna be the email itself. I'm gonna build this step by step. So I'm gonna start with just adding the email itself. To add the email, I can can't copy paste the email itself, like the text itself. I need to have it in a way whereby every time a customer sends an email, the email automatically appears in this box. To do that, we have to drag the label itself. I'm going to show you what that means. So I go to the input side, which is the Gmail trigger. If I close this, we're going to only have the view of the Gmail trigger. So we scroll down to find the text, which is the email that I received. I scroll down until I find text. So this is the email I received. All I have to do is click on this and drag it. The best thing about n8n is it's so user-friendly. You click on it, you drag this into the prompt. Again, it's magnetic, so it directly clicks, and boom. The expression would be JSON.text. This will be expressed as JSON.text. The reason it is in green is because it's a variable. It's not a fixed user message, it's a variable. So every time a user sends an email, it will show here. Not the specific email that I just received. Every single email that I receive from that account is gonna show up here. So if I click on this button over here, I can see that this expression is literally the message I received, which is I hate this. So the user message is set up. Now I want to give this model instructions for it to reply to this email. What I can do is, step by step, reply to emails with anything helpful. As simple as that. If I click on execute step, this LLM is going to reply to the email that I entered as a user message over here with anything helpful. Let's read what it actually replied to. Absolutely, here are some helpful, neutral, and supportive replies you can use when responding to emails, especially when you're feeling frustrated. If you need to take more time, blah, 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 blah. So it answered with anything that was helpful. If I want to take this to the next level, all I have to do is step up the prompt. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to take this one big step. You are going to understand it. You're smart enough. So I'm going to teach this model how to reply to customer complaints based on a guide. I'm going to take you with me with the help of ChatGPT so that you understand. So if I go to ChatGPT, I already asked the questions I need. I'm going to show you what I asked. So I told ChatGPT to give me a training or a guide or an SOP about customer complaints and how a sales agency should reply to customer complaints. So it created Sales Agency Complaint Handling Playbook Training Data v1.0. So the purpose, the core, examples, how to reply, what might a person send as complaint to the sales agency customer support email, etc., etc. What I did after that is I told ChatGPT to create me a custom system prompt based on this exact training. It's smart enough, so it directly does that. I told it to do it. It created me a system prompt. I'm not going to go into the details for now. Just get the idea of me talking to ChatGPT and it helping me with the system prompt. You definitely should use ChatGPT with this. So system prompt, role, primary goal, voice and style, etc., etc., etc. I then just asked it to do some optimization to the system prompt. You don't need to know what I asked it for now. And what I was left with was this prompt. So I'm going to copy, literally just click on copy, go to n8n, you copied the system prompt, you just paste it. So paste. If I click on expression, then click on this button, I can see the system prompt inside my LLM. So this is going to be the set of instructions that will guide the AI model to reply to the emails or to the customer support emails. I'm going to exit this. Again, you don't need to understand the details for now, just get the concept. So we have the system prompt ready. We have the user message ready. Let's click execute step on the message, which is I hate this. It's not a proper message. Like this is not going to be a customer complaint this short. It's going to have some details, but let's just execute the step to see what would happen. If we click on execute step again, now it wrote a subject, which is addressing your experience. Thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry for the frustration here. I'm taking ownership and will provide a clear fix and timeline. I want to understand what's gone wrong so we can address it properly. Could you share a bit more about your experience or what specifically hasn't met your expectations? Once I have the details, I'll make sure we blah blah. And then there's the thanks. So this is a very good response to a customer that's complaining. Now let's take this to the next level one more time. I'm gonna send a proper customer complaint as an email and see what would this AI model reply with. So I'm gonna go to my email. I'm gonna click on reply. Sending it to sinan@remotelyx.com. I will send an example that ChatGPT gave me, by the way. So if I scroll up to the first message I sent, it's going to give me the complaint based on the SOP. So it's a relevant complaint. Copy. All right, amazing. I go to the email, paste. So I'm going to send a complaint. Hey team, the last drop had several freelancers and student emails. This doesn't match our ICP. the ICP, if this is the quality, we need to reconsider our engagement. Like, this is an email a customer might send if they're not satisfied with the service or product you're offering. So if I click send, it's not Dana, it's James. If I click send, go to n8n, click on the trigger node. Because we're in the testing phase, we don't have this workflow active. I have to manually trigger the event. So I go to fetch test event, and here we have the new email. If I'm not mistaken, let me check. So this is the new email. We have it as our input into the model. Let's click on this. We have everything ready and set. Let's click on execute step. And boom, awesome. So it's still sending the subject as part of the email. We can change that. Nothing too serious for now. Let's just use this as an example. So thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry. We'll provide a clear fix and timeline. We will replace off-spec leads at a 1-to-1 ratio. To refine our sourcing, could you please share 3 to 5 examples from the last drop that did not match your ICP, etc. A customer sent a complaint. This model, based on the system prompt and the user message that we added, was able to reply to it in a very decent way. Like, this is a proper and decent reply to a customer complaint. But that's not what we wanted to do. What we wanted to do was send the email. This is not going to send the email. This answer is going to stay in n8n unless we add a step after this node, which allows n8n to send this as a reply to that specific email. To do that, we click on the plus button. I want a node that will send the email to that customer complaint email. It has to be a Gmail node. So all I have to do is search for Gmail, click on Gmail, and as we see, we have 26 actions. You can have add label to a message, delete a message, get many messages, etc. I want to reply to the email, so I would click on reply to a message. It takes me straight to the configuration panel. The same account, n8n account, it has to be the same Gmail if I want to reply through the same Gmail. The resource is going to be the message. Operation is going to be reply, and then we have the message ID. The message ID is the unique identification of that specific email, the customer complaint email specifically. And to get that ID, we need to find that ID in the Gmail trigger output data. For us to do that, we look into the input side of the node and search for Gmail trigger. The reason it's in Gmail trigger is because, as I told you before, the Gmail trigger stores a lot of details and data that are related to the email. And as I also told you, this will be very helpful for us later on. This is one of the cases. If I click on the Gmail trigger, I can find ID. It's a plain text. All I have to do is drag and drop. And this way we have the ID. Again, you can click on this button. This way you can see what this expression represents. Email type, I want it as text. And message, this is going to be the actual email we're going to be sending as a reply. So in this case, it's going to be the reply that the LLM model created. I go to the LLM model. I don't go to Gmail. I go to the LLM model in the input side. I search for the content, which is the email. I drag and drop. So as I mentioned, the reason these are in green is because they are variables. And I want them to be variables. I want these to be variables because every time someone sends an email, it's going to be unique. The email is going to be unique, the complaint is going to be unique, and the sender is going to be unique. So I want them to be variables. So now we have the message, we have the message ID. Let's test it out. So execute step, node executed successfully, as you can see. So the email has been sent to the customer which complained, and that would be me. Let's check the customer support email, which is sinan@remotelyhacks.com, if it actually worked. So as you see, this is the first email I sent. This is the reply that I sent. Again, this is the subject line. It shouldn't be here, but it's a very easy fix. I'm not going to go into it right now because it doesn't matter. I want to show you the concept behind how this works. So thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry for the frustration here. I'm taking ownership and will provide a clear fix and timeline. We will do 1, 2, 3, and thanks. You can edit this any way, shape, or form you want. You can add the sender details. You can add more details. You can add a lot of stuff. Anything you want, you can do. So to recap, this AI workflow has a Gmail trigger, which is important. We cannot have any workflow or agent start or execute without a trigger. So a Gmail trigger takes or receives emails on a certain specific email that we connect this trigger to. So it receives the emails, in this case it's customer complaints, sends that email, the text, as input into the model, which is OpenAI GPT, based on the instructions and the user message, the system message and the user message that we configured this node with, and the training that I added to the system prompt. This model is able to formulate a reply email to that customer complaint email based on all of this. And then we have the last node, which is a reply to a message node, Gmail node, which will send that output coming out of the LLM to the person who complained by email. So we receive the email, formulate a reply, and then send the reply. This is a very basic AI workflow that is really effective, to be honest. It's faster than a human, it's more efficient than a human, it's cheaper than a human, and sometimes it's going to be better than a human. This is it. Very simple, very effective. This is barely 1% of the potential that n8n has and what you can do with this. I just wanted to show you something that's really simple so that you can get the concept behind how this works. Let me show you one more thing. So as I mentioned, we have data. You can look at data in 4 different ways. The first one would be schema. It's just an organized and neat way to look at data. Second would be table, literally the data organized in table format. Third would be JSON. If you don't know what JSON is, I urge you to watch my video on JSON so that you can understand what it means. JSON is simply a universal language that both humans and computers can understand and read. The fourth one, you see here 3. The fourth one is binary. I'm gonna show you what binary means later on. It's like images, videos, these are called binary data. We'll show it to you later on. You also have this button, which is search. You can search for mail. This will show you where like mail is in the data. This will help a lot, by the way, because sometimes as this, in this case, for example, this data is too long. Sometimes you're going to have data that's 10 times or 20 times longer than this. You're not going to be able to find stuff, so the search button helps a lot. What else? You can name the model, for example, or name any node, whatever you want, so that you can identify them when you have a more complicated build. That's mainly it. That's a very simple AI workflow. I hope you understood what this means, how it works, and you benefit from this video. And thank you for watching.